Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So we need to talk because remember how we were just discussing Rebecca Allen and Pauline Astier as realistic targets for the Indiana Fever? Like, these were not random names. These were players that actually made sense, fit-wise, timeline-wise, contract-wise. Well, yeah, that's done, because not only did the Fever miss out on one of them, they missed out on both. And in the most predictable, yet somehow still shocking way possible, both players are heading to the New York Liberty. And I'm sitting here like, what exactly is going on? Let's start with Pauline Astier, because this one is fascinating from a roster building standpoint. She's coming over on a minimum deal, a literal minimum. And at first glance, you might think, okay, that's normal, she's a rookie. But it's not that simple. She's an overseas rookie, which means she falls into that very specific category where teams can bring her in on a one-year minimum contract, keep her rights, and then control her situation moving forward. So essentially, the Liberty are getting a talented European guard for dirt cheap, for now. Then they hold her rights as a restricted free agent, and later they can pay her properly once their cap situation shifts. That's not just a signing. That's strategy. That's front office awareness. That's understanding how to manipulate the system without technically breaking it. And this is where the frustration comes in if you're an Indiana Fever fan, because this isn't some secret loophole. This is something multiple teams are doing right now. You look around the league and it's happening everywhere. The Minnesota Lynx are constantly tied to overseas talent. Teams like the Atlanta Dream are drafting and stashing international players like Isabelle Borlase. These are low-risk, high-upside moves. And then you've got the Liberty just stacking pieces. They didn't just get Astier, they also brought back Beck Allen. And this one stings a little more. Because if you look at the Fever roster right now, Allen actually fits perfectly. She's a 3-and-D wing, she spaces the floor, she defends multiple positions, she doesn't need the ball to be effective, which is exactly what you want when you're building around someone like Caitlin Clark. You put a player like Allen next to Clark, that's instant chemistry. Catch and shoot opportunities, transition threes, defensive versatility, it all lines up. But instead, she goes back to New York. And here's the confusing part. What is her role even going to be there? Because the Liberty are already loaded. Let's really look at this roster for a second. You've got elite starters, you've got star power, you've got size, you've got shooting, and now you're adding depth pieces like Allen, Astier, and likely bringing back Marine Johannes, a player who, by the way, thrives in that system. This is a team that already contends, and they're still finding ways to improve on the margins. And that's the scary part, because it's not just that they're good, it's that they're smart. They're identifying undervalued talent. They're using contract structures to their advantage. They're building a bench that, honestly, might be the best in the entire league. You could argue that right now, the New York Liberty have the best starting five, the deepest bench, the most shooting, one of the most athletic rosters, and arguably the best overall balance. That's not normal. That's not supposed to happen in a hard cap league. And yet, here we are. Meanwhile, on the other side, you've got Indiana. And this is where things start to feel a little uncomfortable, because it's not just about missing out on one player. It's the pattern. They were in conversations for multiple targets, and one by one, those players are landing elsewhere. You start looking at the available pool, and it's shrinking fast. Valerian Ayayi? Gone. Other European forwards? Gone. Australian contributors? Mostly gone. And you're left asking, what's the plan? Because training camp is right around the corner, and the Fever, they don't even have a full camp roster yet. That's not ideal. Now, to be fair, and this is important, we shouldn't act like the Fever front office is completely failing. They've actually done something very smart by not doing something stupid. They haven't overpaid. They haven't locked themselves into bad long-term deals. They haven't panicked and thrown money at players just to say they did something. And in a league where one bad contract can set you back years, that matters a lot. So while it might feel like they're losing right now, they're also protecting their future. And sometimes that's the harder move. But still, you'd like to see something. Because right now, their best additions, Tyasha Harris, solid pickup, makes sense. Monique Billings, great energy player, fits well. But let's be honest about context. Billings' production skyrocketed playing next to Caitlin Clark. A lot of her easy buckets, that's Clark creating offense. And even that move, you could argue, was more about player chemistry than front office scouting. Same thing with coaching influence. Stephanie White has a clear vision, and that helps. But roster-wise, there are still gaps. And then you compare that to what New York is doing, and it just feels like two completely different timelines. The Liberty are maximizing every single opportunity. Minimum deals, overseas pipelines, veteran returns, bench upgrades. They're not just building a team, they're building layers. And that's why people are starting to say this might be over before it even starts. Because if everything clicks, they're not just contenders, they're overwhelming favorites. Now, there's also this conversation floating around about off-court advantages. People are speculating maybe New York has endorsement opportunities lined up. Maybe players are making extra money through sponsorships, media exposure, brand deals. And look, that's not illegal. That's market advantage. Big market teams will always have that edge. And if you're a player choosing between similar contracts, location matters, exposure matters, opportunity matters. But again, that just reinforces the bigger point. Good organizations don't complain about the system. They use it, they adapt, they find edges. And right now, the Liberty are doing exactly that. Meanwhile, Indiana is still searching, still evaluating, still trying to figure out where their next piece comes from. And the clock is ticking. Because once training camp starts, your options are limited. You're no longer choosing from the best available talent. You're choosing from what's left. So where does that leave the Fever? Honestly, somewhere in the middle. They're not failing, but they're not maximizing either. They've avoided disaster, but they haven't created advantage. And in a league that's getting more competitive every year, standing still can feel like falling behind. If you're grading their offseason right now, I'd still give it a B. Not because it's been impressive, but because it hasn't been reckless. And that matters more than people think. Because the worst thing you can do in this position is panic. But yeah, losing out on both Rebecca Allen and Pauline Estier to the same team, that's tough. That's a signal. And it's something to watch moving forward. Because if this trend continues, it's not just about missed signings anymore. It becomes about perception. And in free agency, perception is everything. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. Let me know what you guys think. Is this just smart patience from Indiana, or are they getting outplayed by teams like New York? Because right now, it definitely feels like one team is playing chess, and the other is still setting up the board. I'll see you guys in the next one. Tell me what you think. Don't forget like and subscribe.